You always ask the questions nobody asks. So
And a lot of it's happening in my own house. Here.
Because it rains so much. Yeah.
That's a good one.
But you're the only person ever who's ever asked me that question. Ever.
Do something fun, have a romance, maybe.
Wow, what a presentation.
And I can show you my favorite tattoo.
I'm still laughing about that intro about Jurassic Park
Yes.
and elephants.
She still hasn't got any elephants, so it's a win-win so far.
Those things are always interesting just because I'm so scattered.
I find it so funny because we also met before the pandemic. We have a longer history.
Did you really bring that up? That was a private conversation.
I hope people keep thinking that I'm really relaxed while I'm playing and do not realize when I'm playing the difficult parts of the song.
That's a really good question. Again, Mark, yeah, man. Everybody needs to subscribe because Mark here, he asks really good questions. I'll go this way. There he is.
Art needs multiple voices to truly shine.
So that's when I say, okay, you need to really learn how to do it right.
It's bound to come out at one point. So this was what was coming out.
Oh, you sure you're not interested? I was like, don't ask me again. I can't refuse it twice.
A wrecking machine. I'll take it.
9 to 11 years to become an ER physician.
Anytime I see a breakdown and then I'm like, that seems different, I'm in.
Be in their presence, so I conduct my life in a way that I hope that they want to be in my presence as well.
I was so nervous to even sing in front of just that classroom full of people. But I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do this and this is something that I want to be good at and I want to do, that was a really hard moment to overcome, is just singing in front of a group of people at all. And I remember after doing it, people came up to me and they said, I had no idea you were so good. And I didn't have any idea I was so good, pretty much. So.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts, based here in Seattle, Washington. Thank you so much for joining me on this Saturday, the 11th of December, 2021. And as always, a few housekeeping details before we get to the interview today. Coming up a week from today on December 18th, so next Saturday at noon Pacific Standard Time, Dr. Elodie Gintz is going to be rejoining me. She is an ER physician in France, and she was the first live stream that I did this year in 2021. Back, I want to say it was like the 4th of January or so. So I thought it would be kind of fun to kind of bookend this year and have her come back and see how things are going in her part of the world, especially with what she does. She's been an ER physician for over 10 years. And so it was really interesting talking to her about her experience with COVID and just other things too that we talked about. She's also a sports fan. So we kind of got on that track. So that's going to be next Saturday. And I have a few other live streams that are in the works, whether they happen in December, depending on schedules, or January. If you'd like to know what's going on, you can follow me as Eclectic Arts Media, one word, on Instagram. That's where I post everything first. And then some of that information migrates over to other social media platforms. If this is your first time joining me on my YouTube channel, if you could please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, I greatly appreciate it. And if you want to know specifically what's coming up, you can also hit the notification bell, but please be aware that we'll send emails to your inbox. And if you're on the Twitch side of things, if you could follow me over there, I always appreciate that as well. And so this is, let me change something really quick here. This is part of, I guess you could call it a series where I was inviting guests back who are a part of the Chapter 1 part of the Alice virtual tour from 2020. So we had, like off the top of my head, Eva Tavares came back, Mariah Belgrad came back, Danny the Count Coker came back, and there's a few other guests that have come back. And so it's been interesting to be able to talk to them, especially in some cases where I haven't done a one-on-one with some of these guests since their original one. They may have come back for fun table sessions and things of that nature, but it's going to be fun to just have that old school one-on-one. And Alex, good to see you. Hopefully things are great down there in Las Vegas. And Ove, good to see you over in Norway. And so, yeah, this is kind of cool for me that I was purposely trying to fold in some revisits with people from the Alice virtual tour, and only from Chapter 1. And that's nothing against the interim shows or the Chapter 2 or Chapter 3. I might get to that, but I'm trying to find balance between that and all the new ones that I was doing, and the film reviews and everything else. And now I've got in-person things that I'm starting to do. So we'll just kind of see. But let's kind of get to things as I'm looking forward to reconnecting with my guests. It's been a while. My guest today first joined me on the Alice Virtual Tour back on June 13th, 2020. It seems like a lifetime ago. She has also participated in 3 fun table sessions. Please welcome back to the Eclectic Arts Virtual Studio, Leah Ingram. Hi, Leah.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm glad I can say that. It's good to see you again.
Absolutely. Good to see you. It's been a while. It's been a while since it's been the two of us right here together.
Yeah, absolutely. And even with the last fun table session, I had to go back and look, and it was like in April of this year. So
I know. I was just thinking about that. I was like, wow, if I think back to when we did the one that was this year, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah, and that's why, it's really great to be able to reconnect with you and see what you've been up to and everything else. And so I know, it's like Alex was saying, that you were awesome as a guest. So a lot of the Alice fans definitely remember you and have been probably following you on social media. Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All the follows, all the love. I love the love. Here for the love.
That's cool. So yeah, how are what kind of start just from currently? How are things over there in Ohio? What's the state of your world over there?
I feel like right now anything and everything is pretty much about the holidays. I think we've maybe finally gotten to a point where people are talking more about their regular lives during the holidays versus like COVID stuff forever and ever and ever. And I think it's kind of cool that it feels a little bit more like a normal holiday this year. So it's been a little weird getting back into like the traditions of like, maybe traveling or, my clients in the salon are traveling, and I'm getting people prepared for the holidays. And last year it was like, there wasn't a lot of that. So this year it's kind of nice to feel like it's a little bit more, I mean, it's crazy, but I'm grateful for the crazy.
Well, that sounds similar to out here, that things that we were doing at this time of the year in 2019, it's kind of closer to that, at least, versus what it was like last year, which is bizarre. I mean, I didn't even spend the holidays with my family. I saw them for like 30 seconds to exchange stuff. Then we split to our separate residences.
Oh, wow.
And that's how Thanksgiving was too last year for me personally. But even like today, I was out running some errands earlier today, and there's people, trying to find last minute gifts and doing whatever else, and kind of holiday stressed out, not necessarily COVID stressed out. So it's like, okay,
it's a different kind of stress. a whole different like flavor of stress, we'll call it.
Yeah, and I don't know about how it was for you, but how it is for me when I've been having guests like yourself come back to do these revisits. When I look at those little clips, like the one that I put on the intro here, it's just like that. It really looks like some other part of the world. Like I can't connect to that period of time.
I know. And I was looking at that clip like just before it played, and I'm always wigged out. Like I always have a wig on or something. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I haven't even, like, I can't remember last time I put that on, or like, I don't remember even saying, I was like, girl, shut up. I'm a whole other person now. No. You know what I mean? You look back at that and you're just like, I don't know. It doesn't seem like that long ago, but I feel like in this climate with the way the world is, it just feels like it's a whole lifetime ago almost. My dog's pouring all his food out on the floor, so if you hear shuffling, he's preparing for the winter.
Okay.
Well, let me see if I can turn this so you can kind of see him. He's like right here.
Okay,
he's trying to eat food. And he just pours it all out on the ground.
Okay. Well, wants easy access.
I'm not sure what it's about. The other one does it too. And so there's just food all over the place, and they like bury it. So they'll put it in like a corner. They'll put all of the little kernels in like a corner somewhere. And then there's nothing in the bowl. And I'm like, how is this any different? It's like it's like 6 inches away.
Well, yeah, whatever works for them, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
just so yeah, if you hear any weird, I've got lots of them around me right now.
Okay. And yeah, I see Alex is saying it's a positive stress, quote unquote.
Yes, I feel like this stress that we're feeling, like I would rather 100 times over be booked solid for the holidays versus looking at my schedule and not having clients, or not looking at it and thinking like, oh, okay, like I'm gonna be able to have a good Christmas this year, get people a bunch of stuff. Like last year I remember just being like, well, it's a good thing I don't have to see anybody in person. Because I was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? I think everybody had a little bit of that last year.
Yeah, for sure. Most of my afternoon, I was actually going through my YouTube channel and trying to update like descriptions and things. And I'm talking about not even just these ones during the live stream era, but even back to like 2017, 2016. Because I was looking at
3 lifetimes ago.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the stuff that I had done. I'm like, why did I even, type it that way or put it that way? And it's been that for 4 years sitting there.
Oh my gosh.
It's like,
when I see a typo from the past, like, when stuff shows up on this day on Facebook and I see something and I'm like, ew, girl, what were you doing?
yeah, there was a lot of that for me this afternoon. It's like, oh my gosh, or I would type something that barely had the artist's name in the title. It's like, how's anyone going to find this if it's not even listed?
Hey, you live and learn, right? That's what it's all about.
And I had a lot of learning to do. So.
We all still, we still will continue learning. I bet we'll look back the next time we do this, we'll look back at this interview and we'll be like, what were we even talking about?
I've noticed this since I moved over Halloween weekend, so I'm in a different residence now. I'm only like 15 minutes away from where I used to live. Yeah, so there's been some life, there's been a lot of life changes for me in the last few months. But as I'm looking at this, like anytime I've only done like a handful of live streams from this place, but I look at this wall color and like it matches my skin tone. So this is really bad. I used to always have backdrops, with different colors and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, oh gosh, I'm blending into the wall.
I can't even tell you, when I'm doing videos for stuff, I'm so pale that I'm constantly just like moving things oh. My dog's trying to lay down. He just knocked my camera over. Lay down, Zima. He is so high on trazodone right now. He has an anti-anxiety medication. Lay down. He's just staring at me. Lay down. If he moves again, it's going to move again. Okay.
Well, we'll keep that in mind.
Anyway. But I lost my train of thought. I was on like a steam train. I was going and now I'm off the rails.
No,
backgrounds, they're important. That's what I was getting at.
They are, because I was like, why does this look so odd? And I kind of think, oh, that's right, because if I look at the wall, just for me here, not doing a live stream, I was like, oh, this looks kind of nice and looks like a little bit more like an adult lives here instead of like a goofy person like I am.
Oh my gosh.
But then when I look at these now, I'm like, yeah, this tannish brown color, I got to change this and put stuff on it like I used to or something.
I feel like you almost have to contrast. Like it's like you have to, they teach us this when you do hair photography. So if you, as like a bald man with a lovely tan complexion, have a background that's very similar to your skin tone, then you will kind of feel that way. Now, if you had the direct opposite, that's actually what you're supposed to strive for, I guess. So like if somebody has dark hair, they put on light background. If somebody has light hair, they put it on a dark background. But so I totally know what you mean, because you feel like you just start like blending into your surroundings.
Yeah, and I know that from a lot of the years of doing model-based photography, that I was always real keen on like what my backgrounds were, what locations I was going to use, and that's why I would tell the model in terms of what they needed to wear. So that she didn't become a part of the brick or part of the trees or whatever.
Yeah. One of the things that they actually suggest that you do in salon culture is to keep like a kind of few round, like a couple of shirts in black and a couple of shirts in white in a couple of different sizes. And then if you have a color that you do really well, then you can be like, hey, would you mind changing into this really quick for the photo? I never do that stuff. I'm just like always running, like my brain is moving 15 minutes faster than my body. And I'm like, okay, let's just, do the thing. But it all does, I think, make a huge difference if you really, those little details.
Yeah, no, that's interesting that you shared that, because I learned things. Well, I learned some things over the years, but doing the model photography and then moving into shooting concerts and all that stuff. And granted, I still have a long way to go, but I distinctly remember one time I was on location doing the shoot with the model, and she's like on a bench down by the water, and I usually notice like things around that area before I would ever start shooting anything. And for that, whatever reason, that particular day, I didn't notice this can that was underneath, and you could only see part of the can, but every freaking shot had that can in it. So then I had to go back and remove it.
Like a soup can, or like, what do you mean, like a can?
It was like the top of like a pop can, like a soda pop can, and you could just see part of it. Because I kept looking at them.
They're gonna get you for copyright.
Yeah, we were talking about before we went live. Just
can't
like,
put Coca-Cola anywhere. Am I allowed to say that? Am I even allowed to say it?
We're gonna find out.
We're gonna get flagged. Sorry, Mark.
That's okay. I live live on the edge.
Subscribe, everyone.
And yeah, Ove, I agree with you. It's been, in some ways, it's gone fast, and another way, especially this year. This year's been really weird compared to obviously 2020, was just a freaking nightmare. But and Ove, you mentioned your movie posters. I still have my movie posters. I just haven't figured out. They're actually right here on this wall. I just haven't figured out if I'm going to put them up or what I'm going to do. I'll figure it out at some point. So, yeah, this year's been a lot of really nothing but change for me, and not necessarily in a bad way. Just a lot of change. I used to live in my old place where I was doing all my live streams from for 24 years. And now I'm in a smaller place, which is actually working out well, but it was like something I wasn't planning on, but it just, things kind of went the way they did. So I'm like, I need to get out of my place now and try to find some other place that's a little cheaper and all this kind of stuff. And now I'm working a full-time job, which I wasn't doing during the majority of my live streams. I was working either part-time or I was working at night and all these kind of weird hours. So my car of many years is no longer with me. That finally bid it. So it's just like
RIP.
Yeah, a lot of changes this year. That's, if anyone asked me how was your 2021, that's probably the first thing that comes to my mind would be change. So
and you know that it's going to lead to bigger and better things in the long run, but it definitely feels like we had a lot of those kinds of things. Like I have to change. I'm currently waiting for like tires to arrive, and nobody wants to buy tires. It's the most boring thing in the world you can buy, but I know it's going to be a really good thing in the long run because my car is going to be running so much better after I have them and all that stuff. But it's like 2021 is the year of like buying the tires, not using them and feeling like, yay, this is safe. I feel like 2021 has been like the investing year, and hopefully 2022 will be the fruitful year.
That's a good way to put it, and I can relate to that because I just got new tires on the rig that I'm driving now.
It's the worst, isn't it? Like, it's like when a printer runs out of ink and you're like, I can't use it without it, but I might as well just buy. Like my mom used to just buy a whole new printer. I'm like, man, the tires start going, and then it's like you need an oil change, and I'm like, I might as well just take the bus. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah, no, I know exactly that situation with the rig that I have now. There was a problem with the engine. I had just bought the tires, but they weren't in yet, and so then there was all this whole thing with shipment delays and all this stuff that's going on.
That's what I'm experiencing as well.
Yep. And I still remember, so I was getting those tires when they finally came in, put on right before Thanksgiving. And you wouldn't believe how many people came in there. Hey, I'm going to be traveling. Can you put my winter tires on? And they're like, we have 2 mechanics here. We don't even have, we can maybe put on your tires in about 6 days from now, well after Thanksgiving. Gosh. And they're like, what are you talking about? It's like, so whatever you were used to in 2019, let's say, that's not what it is right now. You have to have a lot more patience and more planning.
Right. And I think a lot of it also is like not repercussions, but almost like the aftermath, we'll call it, of 2020
Mhm.
is there are a lot of people that were on unemployment for a long time. There were a lot of people that, you know, found out like, oh, I work for a company that values money over people. You know, there were a lot of those. And I feel like, so a lot of people are just saying, I'm not going to work unless it's a good job and I'm going to be getting my worth. And so now you've got these places that are understaffed, which plenty of them are, it's rightfully so. But yeah, it's like, this is the year where like now there's, like you said, it's changes and it's hopefully going to be better by sometime next year. But gosh, it's like, yeah, you go in anywhere and it's like you have to wait weeks and weeks to have anything done, or you know, you're waiting like 45 minutes to an hour for a table for a place that doesn't seem that crowded, but it's just they have 3 servers and it's a super busy Saturday night. So yeah,
Mhm.
people have learned to, I think hopefully people have been learning to be patient and to, I think, just, I don't know, all in all, just be like nicer to people. Like with COVID and everything else, it's like, I hope people have more humanity in the last couple of years, or have built humanity in the last couple of years, in a way that we didn't have before, because I feel like it's necessary.
Yeah, I've had many of these discussions now at the place that I'm at during the day, and some of it's exactly what you said, that people kind of start realizing maybe their worth or their place in life, like they're not happy with whatever job they had last year, and so if they weren't working or what have you, that they didn't want to go back to that industry, they went to something else. But then some of it's too kind of like, I'm kind of like, where did some of these other people go? Like, what are they doing? Because who sucked them
Yeah,
up? Because
exactly.
it's not like a regional issue or a U.S. issue. It's a world issue, it seems like, in terms of
Yeah.
people are having a shortage of workers.
And I think a lot of people kind of like took the, you know, the time that we were all kind of stuck at home, and a lot of people capitalized on the things that they never had time to do before. So you're seeing a lot more small businesses, which is fantastic. You know, you're getting a lot more people that are doing the things that they enjoy doing, and they're actually, you know, they took that step because they had a time where they didn't have to be at work, or they didn't have any other obligations, and they made something out of it. And so I think that there are people that maybe, you know, they were working a part-time job over at wherever, and now they've got something else that occupies their time and actually gives them what they need.
It could be. And then that actually would be great if that's what's happening, because it is kind of puzzling. At least out here, I don't know, like in your neck of the woods, but and it's not as much now, but definitely like late summer, early fall, all you saw were hiring signs and hiring this, and then the wages were going
Still
up.
here for sure. We definitely still have them here.
Wow. And I'm like, okay. And I guess in some ways, like, let's say you're a high school student, you're going to make out now in terms of if you're working that first job, you're not going to get paid $13 an hour around here. You're going to get maybe $17 or $18 an hour just because they can't find anybody. So there is a silver lining for someone like that.
I remember being a manager at Hot Topic for like less than $10 an hour. Like, I was like the part-time assistant manager at like a Hot Topic, and it was like $9.50 or something. And that's like, you know, you're there doing like important stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, like looking at the cost of living is so crazy now that you look at that and you're just like, how did that stay this way for so long? And hopefully it's going to become the norm everywhere, and it's not just like a surge that eventually trickles back down. But I mean, what was your, like, when you worked your very first job ever, where did you work and how much do you think you made, if you remember?
Oh, I remember I worked at this place right out of high school, and it was like a production facility, so like labor stuff. And I don't even know, I think I've mentioned this during one of the many live streams before. I don't even know if this was legal, but they were paying you by piece rate. So it was by every piece of whatever project that you made.
Like commission, sort of?
Not so much
like
commission.
You get a percentage of each like project or something?
if I was put on, I don't know, if we had a contract with Boeing, let's say, and you needed to work on these little pieces of electronics for Boeing and assemble them, if you did 100 of them, you got paid X amount of pennies per ones that you did. That's how you got paid. So it wasn't hourly, it wasn't salaried.
I was gonna say that's kind of like commission. I work in a salon doing hair, so like I look at that and I'm like, oh, so you get like a percentage basically of each unit that you.
Yeah, so it is kind of a commission based in a sense, or our productivity based outcomes.
Okay, well,
but
and even now, like, do you see that kind of stuff like in most places? I feel like they're not even like. It's like not even close to like I remember like being like, how does anybody work for this amount of money? And like I don't know, back then I had maybe 3 bills total in my entire life. Like a phone bill, maybe like my car insurance, and like AAA. And now I'm like, what is going on?
No, I can relate to that, because the job that I started this year at night that I was doing part-time paid less than what I could make if I went and worked at McDonald's right now.
Yes.
So I did one of those jobs.
It's like one of those things where you're like, do I just bite the bullet and go flip a burger? Like, because I've been a server before, I've worked in retail, I've worked in food, and like right now to look at these signs and it's like $500 sign-on bonus, $17 an hour. I'm like doing the math in my head and I'm like, man, that sounds kind of good. Maybe I should just quit my life, my career that I've built up, and I'll just go work at Taco Bell. I'm not going to, but
no, I know what you're talking about, because I had the same kind of thoughts cross my mind. Well, yeah, you start doing the math in your head, getting like a round ballpark figure, and like, wait a minute, and you start comparing whatever you're doing to that, and like, okay.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so if I was working the same number of hours here, but like I said, what I do is commission based. So it's mostly like depending on what you're able to rack up in a certain amount of time or whatever. So it can be, you can be like a broke hairdresser, like the majority of us, or you can be like like Chris Appleton, who does Kim Kardashian's hair, who probably like drives a super nice car and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So there's like a huge spectrum in the industry that I'm in right now. But I would say like as a whole, like being subjected to like if somebody doesn't show up for their appointment, we'll say that was a 3-hour appointment. For those 3 hours, I make minimum wage, which is like, okay, if I went and I worked 3 hours at $17 an hour, I'd be doing a little bit better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I see. There's at least 2 people locally that I know that work in salons, and they kind of refresh my memory that they kind of talk about their woes when they'd have like 3 cancellations or 3 no-shows.
Yeah.
It killed them.
It really, I think there are people out there that just go, they don't probably even think about how it affects the people that they were scheduled with. I don't know. That's the only way I can put it without it sounding rash or something. But it seems like, you know, there are people out there that think the appointment being like canceled or, you know, within 24 hours or on the same day or just not showing up doesn't affect us. There are people that probably think like, oh, you know, you have a $50 haircut. They think I'm getting all that $50 and I'm not. Like, there are a lot of things I think, like, just in general that, you know, the general public doesn't think about when it comes to service industry workers.
Yeah, no, I think you just educated some people that are watching this now or watching this down the road just by what you said.
Tip your hairdresser, people. 20%, please. We're working really hard, I promise.
I haven't seen one in many years, but I would if I was still.
You should start getting into wigs, Mark. I can send you some bomb links, and we'll just match the next time we meet again. We'll wear the same one. We'll coordinate.
Okay, I'm game for that. I was just talking to Erica, who's a really actually she was on the Alice Virtual Tour, a fantastic concert photographer, and she said, "Look at my new hair," and she had looked really good on her. And I was like, "Yeah, I can't relate to that." And she's like, "Mark, I'm going to hook you up, and I'm going to get some hair on you."
Yes.
That would be pretty freaking funny.
Hey, they have apps where you can just like try on different hairstyles and see how they look on your head, and they just like it's like a 3D thing. It'll move with you, just to see.
Okay, well, I might have to mess around with. Yeah, see, now I'm seeing apps saying I'd pay to see that.
Oh my gosh!
I think we started something. That'll
Here
be my
we go. Samurai wig Mark. That's Ove. Is that how you say it, Ove?
Yeah, he's in Norway.
Oh, hello, Norway.
Wow. Well, maybe that'll be my new the new Mark for 2022. Mark has hair.
Yes. Every episode of your live sessions, you're just gonna be a different Mark. You'll have a different wig on. We don't know who you're gonna be.
You know what's great about that? That means it doesn't matter what my background is, as long as it's not the hairstyle this color.
Just don't get like a caramel blonde wig, and I think no Fabio wigs, and I think you're good.
Okay. Hey, all right. A creative solution to the problem of backgrounds. Just get some hair, Mark.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah.
Like wear a hood or something. I don't know. A hat? Who's to say?
Yeah, you never know. I have my Yellowstone caps up here that I got as a gift that I still haven't worn yet during a live stream. But I'm a huge fan of that show.
Go pop one on. Let's take a look. Let's see what it looks like.
Oh, I'll think about it.
Okay, all right, fine.
But what was I going? Oh, I was going to ask you before I forget, because my mind seems to forget a lot of things these days. You sang, it was supposed to have been maybe about summertime, like you, just for fun. I think you were at a live show, like some country songs or something. I think.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about that, and everybody who's watching?
Oh my gosh. So, my husband owns Capitol House Studio in Columbus, Ohio, and he has a group of friends, and they recorded this country album, and they created this band, and it was like one friend wrote the songs, and he approached another friend and said, "You need to make a country band so I can write these songs." So it was kind of like a weird group effort thing that I was no part of whatsoever. But Nick recorded them, and it was just fun. It was a group of friends, like kind of getting together, working on music. It was this whole, I want to say it's an EP. Oh, is it bad that I don't know? Like an EP's worth of country songs. They've got a couple out so far. I want to say 3 of them have been released. And so they just wrote all these really fun songs, and we were always like, we got to play a show. Or I should say, at this point, I'm not involved. And so I guess they texted Nick at one point and said, "Hey, can Leah come sing some Shania Twain songs?" And in my brain, like, this was like months ahead of time, and we had no shows booked, like there was nothing, and I just was somehow magically involved. And so I want to say it was August, right? Okay, August 6th or something, around that first week of August. We ended up booking a show at 4th Street Bar in Columbus. And so we're thinking they have this smaller stage inside, and we're thinking, oh, we're just going to be playing on that. And there was all this kind of back and forth with us and the venue about like the setup and the sound system and all this stuff. And we're like, I wonder why they're so, like they seem like they don't have this set, like they have the stage and everything, we're confused. And then we got there and we found out that they had taken their entire back parking lot and turned it into like a little, like they put benches out and they built a stage back there. It was actually really cool. So I got up, I did a Casey Musgraves song, I did a Taylor Swift song, and then I did a Shania Twain song. And it was so much fun. It was so much fun to just get up and like sing somebody else's music. And people in country music, it's like a cult, I swear. Like they get like you say country music and they will come out of the woodwork and they will find where it's happening. And people just love like dancing to it and singing along to it. So we had a show where it was, a couple original songs, but then we did a lot of like Luke Combs and things like that. So really out of my element, but a whole lot of fun.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I think I saw something. I don't know if it was. It wasn't. I know it wasn't a video. It must have been like a still or something about that parking lot outdoor
Yeah,
venue.
it was
So,
interesting. It was not what we expected, I think, going into like the show. It was just I don't think they'd ever done anything like that before, like this venue. So we had no idea. And then we got there were lights, there was like an outdoor bar that they set up. They're like, we're doing country night. And so a handful of our members like live out of state or they tour with other bands that are currently like actually doing this for a living. And so it's very rare that we all get together and actually like do something. So as far as like future shows go, I don't know what we have in store or like anything like that, but we're all it's just like a fun thing that we're all very like excited to like every now and then get together and do it, and then probably not again for another 6 months to a year.
okay. Well, no, that's understandable, and it's nice that that's there whenever it happens to work for everybody and their
Yeah.
schedules. Of those 3 songs that you did, was there a favorite that you really liked doing?
Well, I feel like they all have like kind of a special place for me because I don't know any Casey Musgraves whatsoever, but I got asked to learn this song specifically for the show, so I did. And so I really liked that song because I think it worked well for my voice and it was something I never probably would have picked out for myself. The Taylor Swift song is one that I've really liked since I was younger. It was one of the only songs I knew how to play on guitar. And even now, like somebody else played it, like it's not good. I am not a guitar player by any means. That's like that's like the one thing I've been trying to do forever and I can't. And then the Shania Twain, I mean, it was just like everybody loves Shania Twain. But I don't know. I liked them all. I liked doing all of them. There was another song I did harmonies on, and it was called. See, I can't even remember. It was something lonesome, but anyway, that was also a really cool song that I probably, if I had never met these guys or played in this band or anything like that, it's something I absolutely never would have probably listened to on my own. So a lot of it was really cool because I am so far out of my element.
Okay, no, that makes sense. You get it's really like something fresh and new in that sense of getting out there and performing music that isn't necessarily in your wheelhouse, but and also just getting out there. I would think just doing it after such a long freaking break away from anything live or in front of people or any of that kind of thing, and it was with friends. So
yeah, and I think that's what separates. Like I've sang by myself in front of audiences and I'm almost always like shaking and like I don't want to do this. But if I'm with my friends, like when I was playing in a band, it was the best time. Like just being on stage with a group of people, because I don't know, there's like the banter in between the songs and that kind of thing. There's just a whole different feel to it when there's other people involved, especially if it's people that you like.
I see. I'm flashback. It's been a long time. It's been over 5 years now, I think, since I did my duos. But I with Sarah and I, and if Sarah's watching this, hello. We're still friends to this day, and we had all kinds of funny, goofy things happen during our time. But then some of the other things that I was a part of prior to that, some of them were fun and everything. I had good memories, but some of them, weren't so fun, and I didn't want to associate with the person I was working with.
Right. Yeah,
So
there are definitely, I feel like I don't have any like ill will towards anybody. I'm like pretty lucky when it comes to people that I've been involved with musically. I was in the same band for years and years and years, and the community that we were around was really great. But yeah, I feel like that I've heard horror stories because I've been involved with so many different music scenes of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this person did this to their friends. And I'm just really lucky that I've been surrounded by such like, I don't know, caring, compassionate, amazing people in the music industry. And I think that, it makes a huge difference. Yeah. Cause then you look back on those memories and you go, wow, that was a really good time. And you're not like, oh, there's that person that I don't care to think about anymore.
Exactly. I have both sides of that spectrum.
I was gonna say I'm sure we all have at least like one story. I can't place one as far as I can think of, but like I'm sure we all have somebody where we're just like, oh man, like that, you want to just erase that person or that experience of maybe it was just a bad experience. I don't know, but yeah, we all have a little bit of that, probably in different aspects of our lives. There's always that person at work where you're like, actually, no, I can't complain. The salon's really great too. So I've been lucky as a whole.
Well, that's good, and I hope it stays that way. I can kind of say the same thing, at least about where I'm at for my day job now. That some really, really incredible people, very, very welcoming, very genuine. Some of them are actually subscribed to my YouTube channel. They actually know about all the stuff that I do outside of work, and they've been very supportive of it.
That's fantastic.
It is, and it tells you, and I've mentioned this before on my live streams, that it tells you how comfortable I was with them, because some places I worked, they never found out about anything I did outside, about going to concerts and photography. They never knew any of that, because I just didn't trust those people.
Yeah, and I think it's a special, like, almost like piece of your life, and honestly, a huge part of it. And that's not meant for everybody.
Yeah, that's right. I used to always keep it very close to the vest until I kind of felt like I could talk to them, or if they brought something up maybe artistically that I can kind of connect with them. So, okay, they might understand what I'm talking about when I'm not here. And that's been the case. There's some amazingly talented people at that place that I'm at right now. And one of them, unfortunately, is no longer there, but just from talking to him, he's a drummer and he was a tour manager for Motley Crue for a while and all this other kind of stuff. When I heard that, I'm like, did you just say what I think you said? I said, are you pulling my leg or something? And he's like, no. He started talking about he worked for a record label down in LA for 10 years. And he still does work for them, even though he lives up here in Washington State. And so I'm like, oh my God. So we were just talking shop sometimes for probably longer than I was supposed to, since I was on the clock. But we were having fun.
And how do you feel since you've transitioned to full time?
You know what? I can honestly say that when things happened, when I was looking at, I needed a full-time job. I knew that this whole thing about my housing was up in the air, and it wasn't looking like it was going to be a positive end to it. And thankfully, it was a positive end to it. It was kind of the right time, because during the summer, I don't know what that number was at that point, but it was probably maybe 100 live streams at that point or something for this year. And it just kind of felt like I wasn't burnt out on it, but if I didn't do as many, I was okay with it. So moving to full-time
you don't
work.
want to burn yourself out, because then it's not fun anymore. Then it becomes, more like work.
Yeah, exactly. It becomes a chore. And it got to a point like, you know what? If I'm not available from, 8 to 5 or whatever on a Monday, to book a international guest for an interview, I'm actually okay with that right now. I couldn't have said that probably 6 months prior to that, because that's why I was like, I'm just going crazy with all these kind of things. That's why I know for a fact, unless something weird happens, like I win the lottery next year, there's no way my numbers are going to be what they are. And that's okay. I'm fine with that. But I was just so kind of had tunnel vision about, got to get another one. Who's some other people I want to talk to? How do I expand this kind of thing? And once I got to that point, it's like, okay. So yeah, it's been interesting trying to balance all of it. Working, and what I do during the daytime, I'm usually physically tired when I come home, which is not something I'm used to. I'm used to like sitting at a desk or sitting at a computer or whatever.
Right.
So sometimes I come on, and maybe if Ove's been watching a lot of my live streams since about May or so, you may have noticed that if I do a live stream like on a weekday night, I may not be as sharp. I may even look tired. I don't know. I try not to be. I try to make sure I'm focused on what my guests, is saying, what they're doing. But sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh. But that's also why I only do
exactly what you mean.
Yeah, that's why I only do like a handful a month, and that's been good. Again, trying to find the balance, because I don't want to shortchange anybody, and I don't want to waste anyone's time either about trying to book something. So
no, that makes sense, and I think that's. I mean, it's similar like when you do what I do, which is, work with people all day. Sometimes I get home and like Nick hasn't had a conversation with a human being all day. And he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're home. Let me tell you about my day. Let me show you what I bought at the grocery store. And I'm like, I just need a minute. Because it's like you almost are just like, well, physically, being drained is one thing, but I feel like the mental drain of maybe doing the same thing all day or just like exhausting your, mental capacities. It's definitely, I think, when you're full time doing the same thing over and over again, yeah, you need almost like a buffer period.
You're absolutely right. It's that period to decompress from whatever happened during your day before you start moving into the next thing. And when I was in the process of decluttering and downsizing my old place, and again, I was there for 24 years, so you can imagine how much crap I had amassed to go from that to get over here. And so I was trying, basically every night coming home from work, trying to figure out, so what am I junking now? And I'm going to bag the stuff up and stick it in my car so I can junk it the next morning.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, and then at the same time, beyond the live stream world, I was a part of still doing film reviews. There was a couple of virtual film festivals I was still a part of. So I'm kind of like, this is going to test my ability to plan, schedule.
Yeah. Well, and I can imagine you'd being really tired after that. I would be, at least. I don't know if you were, but like after, yeah, having to do moving in general, like I wouldn't be like, I would need like a year to recover. I hate moving. It's like packing everything up isn't even really that hard, but it's like unpacking everything. And some people, like including myself, when you move somewhere, it's like you will always have stuff where you're like, oh yeah, I still have a box of stuff in here. And like, should I just throw it away? Should I put it somewhere? I don't know. It turns into like, then you think you have too much stuff. It's just a lot.
Yeah, no, you're right. And for me, it just took time to actually look through what I had, because some of that stuff I didn't even know I had it. I mean, it's like, what's in it? It's like kind of what you just said, like, what's in this box? And then I'd find stuff like, oh, this is from 5th grade, or this is some kind of writing thing I did in junior high. So now I'm sitting there spending time looking at it, let alone trying to figure out, what am I keeping, what am I junking, if there's room time to donate stuff or whatever. And then I was under a deadline, like I need to be out of there really by the end of October from a financial standpoint and everything else. So it was like getting close to the wire. Like if I don't find something within my budget, it's going to get dire real quick. So I already had stress from that on me. And again, thank goodness this this wonderful situation happened with the place that I'm at, which I don't know if I've talked to people publicly about this, but I guess I could really quick. The guy that was living here in this apartment, he decided he wanted to move out and be with his girlfriend and live with her. And he'd already renewed his lease. So he was like, well, if I break my lease, how much is it going to cost? And when he found out, he's like, oh my God, that's thousands of dollars. And so they were saying, well, the one workaround is if you can find a roommate, we can bring the roommate onto the lease, and then we'll drop you from the lease. And then they'll just basically assume, everything that's going on in that apartment. But the ad that I saw that he put out, it just seemed kind of fishy and sketchy, because he was trying to be honest about what was happening. But it didn't read right.
Wait. What did it say? Because now I'm curious. What do you mean it was sketchy?
Well, imagine if you read something about that, 1-bedroom apartment in this area that will become your apartment if you sign a lease with me and then I leave, or something, something to that effect. It wasn't worded right.
Oh, so you found him from this advertisement. It wasn't somebody that you like knew or anything like that previously?
Yeah, no, it was completely a stranger when I was looking for places in the area.
Yeah, I guess that does have a little bit of, because you're like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, it just sounds like you're up to something no good.
Yeah, like what do you, like you're gonna break in and take all my stuff at some point, or?
Yeah, you're gonna, knock me on the head if I show up to come take a look at it or something. It just sounded weird to me, because I've been looking at many ads in the general Seattle area for probably a month and a half prior to seeing his, and none of them read like that. But the housing market went nuts out here. Everything went nuts out here, basically. So it's like, well, what can you afford? That means I have to downsize. I have to do a lot of things. And anyways, the whole thing. But it all worked out well in the end. Everything he said was right. But it was just like this. So the month of October, It was, yeah, it was like, oh my gosh. So that when you're talking about like you would need like a year to recover, that's what was for like me in November. I was just kind of just decompressing, like, okay, I'm finally here. I can finally kind of get my bearings, and there's no deadlines, no nothing, but like there's a box there, there's a stack of boxes there, there's still stuff over there, but that's okay. I'll get to it. Versus you have to be done by Halloween. That was totally different.
That's definitely, if you're like, if you have a deadline though, it almost makes it like I think if I have a deadline for something, I have OCD. So if I'm like, I need to have this done by this time, it makes it almost like, okay, I will get it done by then. But if I'm like, oh, I can put this off and do it whenever, I like my laundry will pile up, or like I just have like so many little stupid things where I'm like, well, I have enough clothes, I don't have to do laundry, and then I just don't. So I'm like, I'm either I set myself like up with like a goal, or I have to like, I don't know. It's pretty much like 0 to 100. There's no in between.
Well, I guess that, one thing that's been nice about like doing the live streams and having a schedule, and then when all the film stuff came this year, and it started last year, but this year went nuts. It did force me to do that. Either like, Mark, what do these things do? And you better start making like a list of it somehow, or a spreadsheet, because that's what I had to do, because I couldn't keep up with it. Because they want, like, let's say a film comes out on a Friday, then they may want to see the review on Monday. Some studios want the review on Wednesday, so it's closer to the movie release date. And some of them want it on Tuesday because it might go digital instead of theaters. So it's like, if I don't keep track of all this stuff, it's just going to go like, I don't know, it's due whenever I get it done. It's like, no. They make you extremely accountable for that stuff. They will actually send you a reminder like on the Monday, hey, looking forward to your review of this film that you got credentialed for. I'm like, oh shit. So
I have to do that. I didn't get just to watch it and enjoy it. I have to actually do something about it.
Yep. But I kind of got a system. I've got things much better under control. Because I would just say yes to as many as I could, because I thought this was fantastic. What a great opportunity to work with Netflix, to work with NBC Universal or something. But then I'm like, what about all those other ones you said yes to? It's like, those aren't going away either. You can't just pick and choose. Doesn't matter if it's an indie movie or some huge thing in the theaters. So you got to do all of them if you said yes to it.
I think I have like a too much gene. That's what Jenna Marbles calls it. Jenna Marbles off YouTube. She says when she just like keeps going, like even when it's like beyond the point of like, this is probably not a good idea, because I'm like, no, I'll find a way to work. Like, it's fine. Like, you can send me, all that different, like, I'll find a way, I'll make it work. So I feel like, you almost like, if you're excited about something, you're more apt to be like, no, it's fine. And then later you'll go, what was I doing?
Yeah, no, I guess I suffer from that too, and I'm getting better about not suffering from it so much, because I enjoy doing it. I'll try to expand things, and it's like, but once I was in the thick of it, I had 2 festivals going on at the same time. I'm like, why did I say yes to all of this? That's like 40, 50 films. How am I gonna
say? I was about to ask like how many things you had to watch. How much time did you get?
Well, like some of them were, the big one would be like Tribeca. I got credentialed for them, and that was like about 2 weeks.
Okay.
So you're basically watching stuff constantly. So when I had free time, then I'm sitting there trying to watch something, and then I'm trying to review it. But then, when there's another festival on top of something like that, then I'm like, well, crap, wait a minute. So when am I going to do that one? I can't stay up all night trying to watch stuff and then write reviews. I got to go to work. And I'm still doing live streams, and I'm still doing the other stuff.
Yeah, it's like, then you have to, but then you have to like choose. You're like, okay, do I want to do a live stream, or do I want to do movie reviews, or do I have to do this? Like, because as like you're like me, I think, and you want to do, like, I want to do music, and I also want to do music. Well, I just said that. I want to do music. I want to do YouTube videos. I want to do streaming. I'd love to do like so many different things, and if the opportunity arose, I know I'd just be like, okay, sure, whatever, even if like I knew I had something else going on. It's just I I think it's exciting when you get those kinds of opportunities. Because like you said, like working with somebody like Netflix, like, or being able to do like a whole film festival is like a really big deal. So yeah, you're like, okay, I don't want to pass it up, but
that's exactly my mentality. And thankfully, and part of it, I think, happened just because of the move. It forced me to say no to things I just couldn't say yes to. There's just no way for me to actually get all that stuff done. And unfortunately, some people kind of know, the last artistic thing for me to get back to in person were concerts, for the weirdest reason. Everything else came first because it was more of a controlled situation with live theater, opera, ballet. But my first live concert finally back was this Wednesday. But I was saying no to people. They're saying, Mark, this band's coming to town. We'd love to have you come out. And I'm like, oh, that would be kind of cool. And then I'm like, I don't know where I'm going to fit that into this stuff.
Yeah,
So,
like, wait, when is Wednesday?
yeah. But all is good though. I mean, I'm extremely grateful for everything, and I just kind of been a really good lesson for myself of like, how to find some better balance.
Well, and I think it's better to have lots of things and opportunities to choose from, and to be able to look at things and say, I have to put my job or my, like, even mental health. I feel like if you pile too much onto yourself, maybe if you're like me, you'll end up being like, oh my gosh, what did I do? You get anxious, things like that. Like if I don't have everything laid out, like I need to have this done by this time, and if I don't know, like, that I can complete all of those things in that amount of time, like I would definitely feel overwhelmed. So I feel like you've got to definitely have, like, I mean, you even said you have like a system down. So, but
yeah, that's.
I feel like that's my biggest thing is, it's scheduling is such a big thing. And yeah, being able to say no to stuff is really hard, especially if it's like, I don't know, you feel obligated or something. Like I'll have people that'll go, oh, can you do, my mom's hair for her wedding or something? And you're like, that's like my first day off in like 3 weeks from like any kind of obligations. And you're like, yeah, like, yes, I can. But, then you kind of, you put almost like your mental well-being on the back burner sometimes doing that. So I think it's good to be able to like step back and be like, okay, these are the things that I have to keep in check and keep locked in before anything else gets to come in and be part of it.
That's very true. I was very proud of myself in November when I had a day off from work and told myself specifically, you are not scheduling any live streams. You're not going to do anything because
you're not going anywhere. You're not talking to anyone.
Yep. Part of my brain,
what you want.
Part of my brain was like, but here's an opportunity. So if that band in Sweden wants to talk to you, you'll be home. So you could do it at 9 a.m. because of the time difference. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna go there. Just for exactly what you were just talking about, that it starts becoming a toll on my mental health and anything else. So no, I need some time for me to decompress and have just a day, whatever that day is. And I've been trying to stay with that. So if it's on weekends, then typically one day I'm not doing too much. And sometimes not anything. I'm just watching football or whatever. And you need that.
Yeah, no, I think it's really important. And I also think like, I don't know, just generally like some days doing nothing. Like I'll come home like on a weekend. My weekends are like Sunday, Monday. I'll come home on a weekend and Nick will just go, do you want to do nothing? And I'm like, yes. Thank you so much for asking. I would love to do nothing. Because it's like, even if it's like you have a social event where you're going to go meet friends, like, no, maybe you're not working, but you have to like go be present somewhere.
Yep. And the holidays, big time for that. People are trying to, hey, you want to come over here, or we have this party going on, you want to kind of reconnect, I haven't seen you in a long time, and all this kind of thing. It's like, and I do want to do some of that, but
of course
there's definitely days when I'm like, not this week.
I have a cold. I can't. Yeah, no, I think there are definitely like now, since COVID, there are definitely more people aware of like taking those mental breaks. Like taking a mental day from work was, I think, frowned upon before 2020. And now I think a lot more people are actually like taking that kind of thing seriously. And that's really important too.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's really kind of learned some people of what happens when you have a chance to take a break, and how positive it can be for either your workers or yourself, depending on what, where you're at in the company, kind of a thing. And even just like any given day at the place I'm at, maybe half the company is working remotely, and they are working. But then there's some of them that they're taking Fridays off. They're not anywhere. They're not in person. They're not at home working. They're just off. And that's awesome that they can do that kind of thing. And yeah, people aren't going like, well, how come they're not working? It's like, well, no, they've done their 4 days of work and they don't need to be working that day. So trying to get themselves together.
Well, and I think there are some countries that only have 4-day work week or four-day work week. Yes, that's the phrase. 4-day work weeks, and mental health days are just as like taking a sick day. Like even back before COVID, sick days were even like a thing. Like if somebody called in sick, you'd be like, well, can you just come in for like a couple hours and then somebody can cover like the second. Like now it's like you're sick, you stay home. And that's how it should have been all along.
That's right. I don't know how many times I went in when I was definitely just gross when I was still there.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I think I remember one time specifically like saying like when I was younger and I had a job and I called in saying like I have pink eye, and that was like, you can't go somewhere during that. And I remember them being like, oh yeah, stay home. And I remember being like, wow, that was weird. Because like the other day I threw up and you still made me go.
Well, there's a comedian that had that joke about the worst place to work would be at a doctor's office because you never call in sick. Because if you call and say, I feel sick, I can't come in. Say, oh, just come on in and we'll take a look at you. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're there again.
Make sure. Yeah.
But to kind of segue here, which is a really poor segue in my part, you have a new cover song out, and a video that you put out. And so for people that haven't seen it, or there might be some people that aren't really familiar with your music background, but can you speak about the current video that you got going, and what prompted you guys to pick that particular song, or maybe you picked that particular song?
So the video was a live acoustic cover of I'm With You by Avril Lavigne. It's off of her very first album called Let Go. And it was kind of like, besides Skater Boy and Complicated, that was like the one song everybody knew, but it was like kind of the slow song from that album. So it all kind of stemmed from Halloween at work. I dressed up as Avril Lavigne for Halloween. I just was like, I need something really quick and easy. And I had a blonde wig. I put on dark eye makeup, and I put on like a white long sleeve shirt with like a black t-shirt over top of it and some like cargo-ish black pants and some Converse, I think. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, like you nailed it. And so I thought, what better thing to do than to like maybe put a cover out. Oh, my dog's freaking out. Tugboat, stop it. I'm trying to tell a story. He was mad because he wasn't the center of attention.
Mm-hmm.
He takes after me. But long story short, I was Avril Lavigne for a costume and decided why not do an Avril Lavigne cover song. And I put out a poll actually on, I think it was Instagram and on Facebook to see like, there was one song I already knew, and that was When You're Gone, which has like a piano part that I play. But I figured when the I'm With You song that we ended up covering in the like grand scheme of things was something that I've actually had people like specifically ask me on a couple different occasions like to do this song. So I figured I would just put out a poll, put out some feelers, and ask the people of my Facebook and everything, like, what do you guys want to hear? And so they chose I'm With You. And initially I went in over my head and I was going to do 3 songs. And we actually recorded one, and I hated the angle of the camera, and just like there were a couple things about it that we just ended up deleting it. But I'm With You, we had our friend Mike come in, and we set up the studio space with lighting and everything. And it took us probably, I would say, 10 tries or less to get like just like one full run through of it. And I felt like it was just such a natural like thing. We all like worked really well together, and I think we just happened to get like, I don't know, the take that I was happy with, because I'm really overcritical. And like I said, the other one we had kind of tossed out the window. So it was one that I watched it and we listened to it, and I was like, yeah, we can keep that one. So I think, it wasn't more than one day wasted at that point, which was enough for me to be like, all right, good. Like, this is it.
Awesome. I might be one of the few people, I was not familiar with the original song at all.
Oh, wow. So that was like one of my first like albums I ever bought like as a kid, I think.
Okay, yeah, I remember I watched the video on YouTube, and everybody, you can watch it once you're done with this live stream. Go to Leah's YouTube channel. But yeah, I was like, I don't know this song at all. But it was so nice to hear you singing again, in my case, just singing anything. So I'm like, okay. And, so I have to, what I should do is I need to go back and listen to the original now and kind of see where the inspiration came from for you to cover it.
Honestly, like there are some, like it's her first album. So there are some like super 2000 like angsty teen songs on there. But for the most part, there are a couple really good ones. But yeah, it's from the album called Let Go. It's her like very first album with like I said, Complicated, Skater Boy, all that stuff. But the song that Nick and I had recorded and ended up tossing out, and maybe at some point we'll try to re-record, was actually also from that record, and it's called Things I'll Never Say. And that one's kind of more of an upbeat, like mostly just acoustic song, but it was just kind of, I don't know, she's very like, she's got a very specific style, I think, to her before she went very pop. And so I felt like I keep saying When You're Gone, but it's I'm With You was, like I said, it was kind of one of the staples of that album as like the slow song of that album.
Okay.
Highly recommend it.
All right. And I see always saying that the Japanese bonus track from that first album and a B-side on the single was a song called Why. That is really great. I don't know if you had heard that particular track or something.
I don't think I did hear a Japanese bonus track. I like when I had the very first, like I'm talking, I had like a CD and like a Walkman. So if there was an additional song, I had no idea.
Okay. Well, there we go.
I'm gonna have to look into that now.
So you mentioned that's the first song that you're like, I wasn't happy with it, and then the one that got out was, and you also mentioned that you tried. Were there 3 songs? Was there a third one too?
So yeah, so the third song was the one I already know it. We haven't even like attempted to record it, but I already know it well enough that I can play it and sing it. But I kind of was like, okay, if we're gonna start doing these live session things, like it would be really cool. I was kind of hoping to have like a collection of like Avril Lavigne live sessions where I could just stick all of those. But now I'm like, am I just gonna keep putting out Avril Lavigne covers, or should I like maybe put out something different in between? And a lot of it depends on like if anybody can, I'm sure everybody can hear me like heavy breathing through these microphones in my earbuds, but like I can't sing every day. So it's like I have to like utilize those days, and depending on what I'm feeling like that day, what kind of mood I'm in as far as like what kind of song I even want to sing, it's it's all really it's got to be like the perfect combination, I feel like, because if it's not, and then I'll listen back and I'll be like, no, toss it.
I do remember you telling me that it may have even been during one of the early Fun Table sessions about how you were like hypercritical of your work.
Yes. I can't listen to like my vocals being edited or like soloed out. Like when you edit vocals, it's kind of like all you hear is those vocals and there's nothing else, and it's super like, it's almost like, the best word I can use is like zoomed in. It's zoomed in on your vocals and it's all you hear, and it's like clear as day, and so you can hear every little tiny thing you do wrong. And it just drives me crazy. So I can't like be part of that like process whatsoever. I can't like listen to my vocals like just by themselves. I've gotten better about it over the last like, I don't know, maybe like 3 or 4 years. Since like not really playing live shows anymore, I've been focusing a little bit more on doing like recorded songs. And so I've had to kind of like learn to let go of like the perfectionism that I really have an issue with. But I will say there have been songs where I recorded them and we would be up till like midnight, like still in the booth, still running, like started midday, and I just am like, I am so like focused on making it absolutely perfect that it'll take me so long, especially if I know a song really well and I know all the inflections a person does in their voice, or like each breath that they take, or how this note goes down. It's almost like, I don't know, it's almost like the bane of my existence, because I'm like, I know that I can do this well if I kind of let go of it all and not take every little tiny thing, because then I just am copycatting somebody else, realistically. But I've done things before where like I got the perfect take, like it took a long time, but I got the perfect take and the whole song was like done perfect, and then it just sounds so boring. Like it sounds so like perfectly spaced out, and it sounds almost like overly edited. And then I'm like, oh, I don't even like this. So I've gotten better about the hypercritical like side of everything. But I'm still like pretty apt to be like, no, I didn't like that take. Like, let's do it over. Probably a good number of times before I'll be happy with something.
Okay, well, so it sounds like you found maybe like a almost
sort of happy medium.
Yeah, like you relaxed a little bit from the hypercritical aspect of it, like you said, because if it gets to a point where it's like everything's perfect, then yeah, it does sound like it may have been just spliced together because it's so perfect and it kind of lost its feeling, and it doesn't sound like someone's actually performing.
Yeah, and if I'm performing the exact same song the exact same way as the person who did it, then like, yeah, it's a cover, but it's not going to feel unique, and it's not going to feel like it's, I don't know, even me singing it versus just me doing like a parrot to somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for people out there, again, if you haven't had a chance to check out, you can see it in the background on the live stream here. There's the still that Leah provided. Go to her YouTube channel after this and check that out, and also check out the other things, because as she knows, but maybe other people who don't know, who weren't a part of the Alice virtual tour, I found Leah through YouTube. I was going through, I have to think back to that. I was going through a deep dive trying to find covers of like musicals and things, and stumbled upon her doing Music of the Night from Phantom of the Opera. And I was like, who is this person? So then I started looking through everything else that was on her channel, and there was like a limited amount of videos. And then I'm like, how do I get a hold of this person? Because I would love to talk to her or do some sort of interview. This was before the tour, if I remember right. I get my timeline right. It's before the tour actually happened.
I think it was.
Yeah, because that's when I found you through social media. We did the written interview, which is on my blog if you want to go back and read the interview that Leah did. And then, yeah, this virtual tour thing happened with Alice. So I'm like, hey, you want to come on and do one? And at that point, things had just opened up enough for you to go back to work, if I remember right, back there.
It was May.
Yeah, so scheduling was tough.
Because then we ended up doing June.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because it was right at that tour finished on the 15th, that first leg, and you were on the 13th. So we were almost out of dates.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. So I'm like, oh, I was so happy that you had time in your schedule to come on and do that. And I to this day, and I love all of the fun table sessions, but one of them I really liked was like the one with you and Anissa. And
oh yeah,
that was just, it was light and fun, and we got to see your Star Wars collection, and it had a really nice vibe to it. And yeah, that's one of the things I think about. But then you did two more, and you just did that one with Dan and Anna from this year. And yeah, you've got a really interesting background in everything that you do, but then your personality is really great. So, and then you always have a different look every time you come on.
Thank you. I'll look different every time you see me.
Well, and apparently I have to do that next year too if I start working on my wigs.
Yeah, we're just gonna be. We'll be like who are they? Who knows?
Yeah, isn't this Eclectic Arts?
Who are we gonna be?
Did Mark hire somebody? What happened to it?
Yeah. Oh my
Oh.
gosh. We'll just make you look like a totally different person, and you'll have to talk. Maybe you'll have to adopt an accent or something.
Oh god.
We'll be like, oh, okay, this is all new, brand new Mark.
Yeah, no longer from Seattle. Now I'm from we're coming to you from live from Houston, Texas, and
Yes.
Oh
We'll
my
just
gosh.
lie to the people.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, it's great that you have some music stuff going, and like you said, you have another song that when things kind of feel right, you might get in there and record that because it's a song you know really well. And have you been marking? I see my name in the chat. Have you been doing anything with anything original, even bits and pieces of anything?
Yes. So at the moment, I feel like there's a disconnect between me and like my bandmates from Leave Earth, where like we're using different things to write, and it's been really hard to just like get together on some stuff. But there is an original song that we've been working on for kind of a while, and now to this point, I'm kind of like, I don't even know if or when it will be out. So I had some parts of that I really, really liked. So I'm hoping, that we'll be able to create a full song from it. But I feel like as far as like original stuff goes, Nick and I always have like days where we'll be like, oh, we need to like sit down and just like write for a little bit. And so there's like random bits and pieces of things that I have and like I'll probably forget about and then maybe come back to later. So I think like as of right now, I don't have anything that's like really like the pinnacle of my where I am like musically at the moment. Like I feel like I really enjoy doing lots of different kinds of things. So depending on my mood, it is kind of that's like what I work on depends on where I'm at as far as like, oh, do I want to work on something more rock today? Would I rather do like a more classical vibe of something, or whatever it might be. So as far as like original stuff goes, like there are plenty of different things that I definitely have started, but if and when they finish depends on if I can breathe and like what kind of mood I'm in, I guess. So we definitely have like the motivation and will and want to do music that is original. It's just right now finding the time for it, I think.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm just glad to know that you have, and it doesn't surprise me that you have been when you're inspired or when things are working right or feeling right, that you can work on some things and, they'll come out whenever they're ready. And, kind of meet the standard that you want and what Nick probably wants as well. And for your band as well.
Yeah.
Because anytime I see, anyone who knows me, I've told people this many times, I'm a freaking dinosaur when it comes to like how you watch TV and stuff. I did not have a Netflix account for many years. Actually, right now, I still don't have one. I didn't have a Wi-Fi connection until March of 2020. But now that I can watch like YouTube stuff on my TV and catch up with everybody, anytime I see stuff from you, I keep thinking, not that it's a missed opportunity, but it's an opportunity. There's something so great about your voice that I would hate to see it just kind of go off into the distance and just kind of like go off.
No, I appreciate that. And I feel like I have like family members and stuff all the time that they're like, you better keep blah, blah, you got to do something. And I'm like, I know. And it's definitely not anything that I intend to like let go to waste, so to speak. I really enjoy music and it's such an important part of my life just as a whole that it's never not going to be there. But I also have, I feel like kind of phases where I have almost like, I feel like a sponge. Like there'll be absorbing phases where I'm listening to a lot of new things and I'm like being inspired by a lot of things. And then I kind of like squeeze the sponge out and like, okay, here's everything I've kind of, been thinking about or working on. And so like every now and then it's just like I kind of shove everything that I've been wanting to do into like one big thing. And then I'm like, all right, now I'm going to go back to absorbing and kind of more the observing side of music, because I think a lot of musicians forget to be listeners sometimes. And I found myself kind of having that problem when I was in the band. I felt like nothing new that I heard was something that like I was like, oh, I'm gonna listen to this whole album. Like I wasn't inspired to, I don't know, like branch out. And I feel like being honestly home during COVID was a huge thing for that in general, of like, I don't know, branching into different genres maybe or things like that. But during those times now, I realize like I am absorbing things, and I'm more in a listener kind of phase of music versus a creator phase of music, because I think like all creators sometimes get tied up in a bit where they're like, I don't know what to do. I have a creator's block, you know, whatever. And it's like there's so much to inspire us constantly that like unless you really have, I think, like I said, like kind of like a set mode of like, this is the time where I am creating, and then this is the time where I am absorbing. And I think, I don't know, it's just like where I'm at right now is more of an absorbing period over the last couple of years, because I'm not actively really playing music live anymore. I'm kind of like, okay, I want to rediscover like what I like about music and the kind of music that I want people to hear from me. So I think there's a lot of stuff that maybe when I was in a band I might not have listened to, just because I tried to kind of keep my focus on what was inspiring our sound. And now I'm kind of going outside that box a lot more, and I think it's helping me to eventually create more different stuff kind of later on, which, like I said, is kind of taking me in a lot of directions. I have a bunch of different projects in a lot of different places, but I kind of like it that way. I kind of like being able to bounce from like doing a cover of, you know, music of the night to like screaming in an original song maybe somewhere down the line. I like that versatility because I would get really bored, I think, if I was doing the same thing for too long.
Okay, and that sounds like it sounds like when I think of bands that when they have, like, say, the big album that comes out and they tour for 2 years, and then they take like maybe like a 4 or 5 year break because one, they just decompress, but then two, they kind of got so sucked into what they were doing that they kind of, like you said, they kind of forgot to listen, or maybe they're looking for a new inspiration and they know it's out there, they just haven't had time to really do it. But once they take that time, then the next thing that comes out from this is usually very different because it's got all these other influences that have percolated through their brains and then kind of came through their system and put their little stamp on it. And
for sure. And there are a lot of people that get upset about that kind of thing. And I used to get upset about that kind of thing. I'd go, oh, this isn't that band. If I wanted to listen to this kind of music, I'd go listen to this band. But I mean, people grow and music grows. And I don't know. I think something that as you get older and you become more of a listener, you do start to expect, like, okay, they're different people than 5 years ago. Of course, they have different inspirations and different, everything. So it makes sense. It is things are very different when they are kind of further apart, but there are always these bands like Blink-182. They put out an album, what was that, 2 years ago now? And like, it sounds like Blink. It's funny, but yeah, there's always going to be that element that it's them.
Mm-hmm. Well, and in your case too, having such a wide variety of interests, and you have and we've talked about some of the musical theater background that you had or have, and so it just makes sense that you're going to say, like, well, I really want to do this type of thing, and I'm also wanting to want to do this, like you just said, and I want to also work on this. There's no rule not to do these kind of things. It's kind of like whatever pleases you. And I'm kind of in a similar boat. So like, if I want to have a film director on, I'm going to have a film director on. I kind of want to talk to them and I want to learn more about that process. And I don't care if they have, some small indie film that they did for $10,000 or even less than that. It's like, no, something about it resonated with me. So I want to know more about that. So it makes, I love it when people don't think in terms of limits, artistically or just kind of in general. For the most part, it's like, there's no reason you can't, have steak and cheesecake.
What a great combination. Really.
Of course. And I see Ove saying that he's just subscribed to your channel. So there we go. We got another subscriber
Oh,
on you.
yay. Star Wars does rule. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for the subscribe, Ove.
Yeah, it's very awesome. And it's got to be getting, it's almost 5 o'clock here. So over there, it's what, like, wait a minute, it's like 3 in the morning or something, Ove?
No, it is 7:57 p.m.
Oh, I meant in Norway for him.
Oh, I was like, it's kind of hard math sometimes if I really, if I'm like not, but okay.
Well,
3 a.m.
I just remember with you that I kept thinking that based on where you're located, that it was Central Time. For some reason in my head, I kept thinking it's Central. I was like, no, it's Eastern.
Oh, yeah. I think I remember as a kid, like on the cartoon commercials, they'd be like, this time in this Central or whatever. And I was always like, what does that mean? It took me a while when I was a kid to figure out that there were different time zones, and that didn't make a lot of sense to me. But we have a trip planned to Vegas on the 28th through the 3rd, and we have to catch a red eye. And I was trying to explain how we're basically skipping all of the sleeping hours because we're leaving at 3 a.m. from Vegas and going back to Ohio, so we're moving technically to a different time zone where it was I was like, oh my gosh, wait. I was like, yeah, we're not going to get any sleep because we get there at I don't even remember. It was 6:30 in the morning or something.
There was, I don't remember what show that was on the Alice tour, but I remember one of the band members was saying that because of where the DJs and the other bands that were playing that night, where they were located in the US, that all of them started at the same time, but they're just in different time zones. So somebody started at 8 p.m. Eastern or whatever, and someone went Central. It was nuts. It's that whole Back to the Future space-time continuum kind of thing going on. We're like, what?
Well, and then you think about New Year's Eve, when the ball drops in New York. Do you watch it then?
I used to, yeah.
Because you know what I mean? Because then we're yay, it's the new year, and you guys still have 3 more hours to go.
Yep.
That's just so strange to me that I'm in a whole different year just because I happen to live somewhere else. Space and time are crazy. Science.
Yeah, for sure. Because
science rules.
That's why they talk about I'm thinking about with elections. Being here in Seattle, a lot of times they're already predicting winners because of all the stuff that came in through the East Coast and working its way towards us. So we're like, well, shit. I just cast my ballot or whatever, and now you're telling that this person's got 49% of the vote, and I just voted. And like you said, with New Year's, I think
that.
Yeah, I think it's Australia, so maybe the first to welcome the new year or something like that, because they always show their fireworks first, and it's 8 in the morning here or something on New Year's Eve.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. It's already 2022.
Oh, you guys are going to bed. I'm just waking up. Let's go.
Yeah, it's weird, and I got a real good dose of that obviously during last year doing the live streams with people from different countries. So I'm trying to schedule stuff. They're like, well, it's Tuesday at 8 a.m. over there, Mark, when we do it. And it'll be the day before for me. It's some noon or some weird time. And so even the one I was thinking about that you were a part of, we had the person that was in New Zealand. And then you're in Ohio. And then we had somebody here in Pacific Standard Time.
And I remember, I think when we finished, it was maybe 12:31 a.m. here, if I remember correctly, because I was like, oh man, I was like, I think we had started at 9, so maybe it was midnight.
That sounds right. It sounds like I was trying to find that weird medium for people, depending on, you're okay with being up late, and then for me it was earlier than I would normally start, but then for her it was the next day and all this kind of stuff. So it was kind of nutty, but yeah, so that sounds like you have a fun trip coming up. And
so we're gonna be there for New Year's Eve, and I'm excited. I've never been to Vegas before, but also that's a lot of people. Oh my gosh, even before COVID, that's a lot of people. I don't want to be in that close of proximity to that many humans.
Yeah, and I don't know if Alex is still with us, but he joined us at the beginning of this live stream. He lives in Las Vegas.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah.
I feel like living there, like when those kinds of events happen, it's got like I would imagine you got to like stock up like there's a winter storm and be like, all right, we're not leaving the house for a couple of days. We got lots of canned goods. Like, what do you do? Like, I don't even know what we're supposed to do because they're talking about, oh, we're gonna have to they close down the whole strip and we're gonna have to walk from like the hotel to the wherever. It's gonna be I'm like stressed. So I'm excited, but I'm like such a planner with my OCD and I'm like, so where are we going at what time and how are we getting back? Because on New Year's of 2020, like going 2019 to 2020, we were in Disney and we ended up we called like Ubers trying to get, like, you can't get an Uber from Disney. So we took a shuttle to some other like Disney resort and tried to Uber from there. We still couldn't get an Uber. So we walked, I think it was 1.5 miles in like 42 degrees. I'm like young and stupid. I'm wearing like a crop top and there's like sprinklers going off. Like it was something out of like National Lampoon's Christmas, I swear. And I was like, I do not want to do that again. So maybe I'll just like dress really comfortable this year, just in case I need to prepare for the best or the worst. You hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
Well, yeah, hopefully everything works out to your satisfaction.
I sure hope so. I'm just like, I'm like, where am I going to sleep? What are we going to do? Like, I want to know, I need to have like an itinerary, you know, whenever I go anywhere. But my in-laws are very like, take it as it comes sort of people.
Mm-hmm. I can do both, but and we've talked about this. I definitely tend to be a planner, someone who wants to know what's coming up, especially if I'm going somewhere that I'm not familiar with. I try to have enough, and I realize I can't plan for all of it, but I don't want to be there and just throw it to the wind either, and just kind of, wow, okay, yeah, hope for the best. Not in this situation. I don't want to hope for the best.
Yeah, I don't want to hope like I might get a ride back to the place where I'm sleeping. That doesn't sound fun at all. Like what?
Yeah. And that's right. Over yeah, Lena from Infected Rain lives in Vegas. I interviewed her, and Heidi from Butcher Babies is down there as well. I haven't been to Vegas in 10 years at least. Quite a while. It's been a while. But no.
Elvis lookalike competition in Vegas. Ove says I need to attend. A lot of wigs. Yes.
Well.
I think I have met a couple of people through like what I do for a living that obviously had been to Vegas before, but I met this guy who was a magician. I was doing his manicure because he was about to be in like some sort of a magic competition where like he does all those tricks where it's like sleight of hand. So he had his hands up really close to a camera. So he came in to get, you know, his hands cleaned up and look really nice. And so it just happened to be this thing where I was like, I'm going to Vegas. Like, I bet you know, like all the best places to go. And he's like, absolutely. So I'm like, I have like a note section in my phone for like, go to these shows and do all this stuff. But like, everyone will tell you something different, no matter like what kind of like experience people have in Vegas. There's always like, you have to eat here or you have to, you know, make sure that you see this show. And so like I'm really excited. I mean, obviously it's Vegas and I've never been, but I am very excited. But I'm just like, I want to have like stuff planned out. I want to know like, okay, well, yeah, what shows are we going to? What are we going to do? So I'm excited, but I'm nervous and anxious also. But I think that's kind of just Vegas as a whole.
Yeah, from the handful of times I've been down there, basically, if you're there for like a long weekend, which it kind of sounds like you are, about, you know, X amount of days, that's perfect. I don't think I could last a week down there. I'd be coming home in a body bag kind of thing.
Like I go to bed like probably like 11 and I have to be at work at 10 and I struggle. Like that's like almost 12 hours apart of like being awake and like having to operate as a human being. So I'm like, I can't. I'm like, I can't be up all night doing these things. Yeah, I'm gonna be like the little old lady that they're gonna have to push in like a wheelchair. I'll just take the wheelchairs from the lobby, and they'll have to push me around.
Well, I can tell you that that place, and you'll find out obviously pretty soon here when you're down there that even if you're like dead tired, or if you're into a certain schedule up with your body pattern, your body clock, or that kind of thing, it will go out the window pretty quick down there. It just happens. And I'm thinking about, so like I've been down there a couple times with like my mom, and she's gonna normally go to bed fairly early, but yeah, next thing you know, she's up at 4 a.m. You know, we've been up the entire time doing shit, and if it gets getting good to you, then yeah, like, it doesn't matter. You're in Vegas. That's kind of what it's known for.
Like this is what we're doing while
Yeah.
we're here.
Yep.
Yeah.
And because I remember one time I went with some other people, and they were kind of annoying me, so I got up early to get away from them and get down to the pool, which I normally don't go to. But I'm like, well, I'll just go hang down there for a couple hours, and once they ever wake up, then we can go do shit. But I'm kind of like, God, this is so weird to be up so early here, because nobody is.
Yeah, well, and at home, like I'm just not. Yeah, I'm not a morning person. I think being there, it's going to be a totally different schedule, obviously, in general. So I'm sure I'll be all kinds of out of whack.
Yeah, see, and I'm not a morning person either. And so, yeah, being there and you're eating at weird times, and yeah, you're doing things at strange times. But again, that's part of the vacation. That's part of being there.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's anywhere, you know, if I was to go even to just where you live, I mean, I'm sure I would probably be messed up because it's just a whole different, like we said, a time zone. And then you probably get tired. I'd get tired 3 hours earlier than everybody else. And everybody would be like, what's wrong with you?
Yep. And then you'd be ready for work at 10. It would be 7 over here. And it'd be like, what are you doing up so early? I thought you were a morning person.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I feel like it doesn't take me long to adjust to like the kind of schedules where I get to sleep more. So I feel like going west is like going to work out, where maybe it'll be good because maybe I'll get up and I'll get ready, and then we'll be ready for stuff early enough where I'm not like holding everybody up because I had to do my makeup or something.
That's true. Yeah, no, you're probably right about that. That going that direction is going to help someone who's not a morning person.
Yeah, hopefully. Nick will still be up. Nick will wake up. It'll be, let's see, like 7 a.m. there, and he's going to be up for 2 hours already or something, and he'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're awake. He has like the internal alarm clock on crack.
Oh. Is he one of those people that can get up without an alarm being set?
A lot of the time, actually, yeah, but he kind of makes his own hours because of what he does for a living. But if he does have like obligations that are like, I think he sets an alarm for like if he doesn't wake up. But most of the time he does wake up before he has an alarm set. But I mean, his alarms are like maybe like 8 or 8:30 at the latest, I would say, or at the earliest, because he usually will work at like 10, which same with me, but I have to wake up, I have to take a shower, get ready, and be at work, like ready to do hair at 10. You know what I mean? Like he gets to get ready, which takes him 15 minutes, and walk outside. Got it.
Okay. Because I met somebody where I'm at now who they don't use alarms. I'm like, what do you mean you don't use alarms? My body will just wake me up. And I'm like, I've never experienced that ever in my life.
I feel like that's also people that have like kids.
Yeah, could be.
Like their kids wake them up at a certain time. Or like I had a client today and she's like, I have 3 kids that are like 6, 4, and like almost 2. And so she's like, they pretty much wake me up every day. Like I have a fail-safe alarm, but for the most part, like they wake her up.
Okay. No, that's true. God, that would be terrible.
It must be terrible to have children.
Yeah, good grief. Oh man.
Yep, that's a lot of sleep missed out on for sure.
Yeah. Well, Leah, thank you so much for taking the time to catch up. It was nice catching up with you and seeing what you're up to and all the other things. And I always enjoy, again, when you have any kind of new music out of any style, any genre, cover, original, doesn't matter to me. I love your voice and what you do, and your personality has always been great. So
Thank you.
it's been so nice to get to know you this last, well, coming up on almost 2 years. God, that's nuts.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can't even believe that.
I know. But yeah, I guess the next time that we do one, I'll have to purposely make sure that I don't look like this, whatever I do.
I'm going to send you a link for like a wig, and we're going to coordinate. And so whoever watches us next time, you know, they're going to be expecting it. So
there we go. Oh boy, expectations making me nervous.
oh my gosh. No, we don't, and you won't even have to keep it on the whole time. We'll just, you know,
just to
give
start.
the people what they want.
Okay. Well, have a great night over there, a great weekend, and a great trip down to Vegas. And
thank you. And you too, and happy holidays to you. And I'm so glad to see, you know, you're completely kind of settled into where you are now and stuff. And, you know, it's been really good. Yeah, like catching back up, and it's been so long that we have a lot to catch up on this time around. So yeah, it's really good to, you know, see you doing stuff. And even though you are full-time, we're still here doing the thing, and that's great.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, and happy holidays to you and Nick and all your fur babies there. And I will talk to you hopefully sooner than later.
All right, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.